Are you sure you want to do this? There she is.
You want to break in and steal highly regulated equipment.
This could be our only ticket out of here. Should be in and out in 30 minutes.
Welcome to the Romulus space station.
Well, we all know that it won't take a quick 30 minutes, and it likely is not the ticket out that they were hoping for. So let's see what happens. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Forever Fangirls podcast. I'm Sheila Amato, and along with my wife Kimberly, we're your hosts, and we're glad that you can join us.
Yes, and as you heard from the trailer, we're going to be reviewing Alien Romulus.
That is right. The film was released on August 16th in theaters, and we saw it opening weekend. Our standard spoiler alert is in effect here, as we will be talking about specific plot points and themes, so if you have not seen Alien Romulus yet, you will be spoiled.
So jumping right into movie facts, according to IMDb Pro, the budget was $80 million. Opening weekend domestically, it was estimated they made $42 million. And at the time of this recording, worldwide box office is estimated at $124.5 million. Some trivia tidbits. Director Alvarez sought out the special effects crew from Aliens, the 1986 film, to work on the creatures. Physical sets, practical creatures, and miniatures were used over CGI whenever possible. Mm-hmm. The lead actress who plays Rain, I'm going to possibly pronounce her name incorrectly. So it's Kaylee Spaney. Mm-hmm. Okay, there you go. Said the film actually takes place between Alien from 1979 and Aliens from 1986. So it takes place in the year 2142, which, if you break it down, is exactly 20 years after Alien, which took place in 2122, and 37 years before Aliens, which was 2179. And I am all mathed out at that. I hope that made sense. And apparently the likeness of Ian Holm, who actually passed away in 2020, is used to create the character of Rook. Ian previously played Ash, the synthetic aboard the Nostromo, which was the original Alien movie.
Yes, and he was creepy in that one too.
Yes. So beyond that, which is a lot, the IMDb synopsis simply states, while scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonists come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. You have to admit it was perfect timing for that.
Yes, and in this case, that is the right place to put that soundbite.
Why, thank you.
Okay, so here's the summary then. The film opens with a salvage team picking up a large item that looks like an egg or a rock from the wreckage of the Nostromo. They bring it back to the station, they cut it open, and then we're greeted with an image of, what else? A xenomorph. Oh my goodness.
I'm 2 for 2.
Anyway, fast forward to a mining planet with no hours of daylight, and we meet Rain and Andy, her android brother. She put in the allotted number of hours for the company to allow her to transfer to another planet where there is sun. Mm-hmm. Her quota is increased, though, and she is doomed to stay on the mining planet. We learn that humans keep dying every cycle from unknown diseases. When Rain's friends tell her about an abandoned station orbiting their planet, they have the idea to get the cryopods to get them to the planet Ivaga. They need Andy, as he is the Weyland-Yutani synthetic that can, quote, interface with the space station. Things never go as planned, however, as the cryopods don't have enough fuel for 9 years of travel time. So they head deeper into the station and remove cryofuel, which thaws out the frozen facehuggers.
3 for 3.
With the help of the space station's mangled but still functioning science officer, they learn the medical facility isolated the DNA of the alien into small vials and that it needs further work to create the perfect human worker. After this, everyone but Rain dies. Andy is severely wounded, and the last words Rain utters before going into a cryopod is to tell Andy that she will fix him. That is assuming that they get to Yivaga. Okay, shall we talk about the good then?
Yeah. As someone who loves the Aliens series and actually got you into Alien and Aliens.
Yes, you did.
The cinematography and the tension created and set up by using practical effects, real building of the sets to make them look with the shadows and the creepiness. It's all dark. It harkens back to the original films with the creepiness throughout. The music specifically, I loved the ambiance and the feeling that the film elicits with its visuals. I don't think there's anything like it except the original two.
I actually saw an interview with Kaylee, and she said that she appreciated acting opposite an actual xenomorph rather than, a tennis ball. So I'm like, oh, okay. So, I mean, it's good not just for the audience, but also for the actors.
Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense. You probably get different emotions from it because you can visually see what is supposed to be attacking you, not just something on screen.
Yeah.
But it just felt scarier.
Yes.
Like, as they're going through trying to get away from it, they end up funneling them through the station to where they end up going into where all of the bodies are basically pushed and connected to all the walls.
Where they can nourish the other eggs or something.
Where the eggs grow and eventually split out from them, but where they, I guess, mutate, develop, evolve, whatnot. The way they moved along the walls, the way the aliens just appeared because they're part of the walls, the way there's this little area and you look up and all you do is hear them and you know they're there, but because you also can't see clearly, you don't know where they're coming from. It's beautifully done. And it really does remind me of the first two films. And I was like giggling in my seat because that is what, as a horror fan, as an Aliens fan, that's what I wanted. And I got it right off the bat.
Yeah. The thing that scared me the most was the first time the face huggers were hatching.
Yes.
Because they were like jumping jelly beans, just going, woo!
They're more terrifying than ever before, right?
They were moving much more quickly. Like the scene where you could see that they were trying to penetrate the mouth of Tyler. It was a lot more graphic, right? They grab onto your head and it's like you have whiplash as it connects with your face. It's like,
what they also did, speaking of facehuggers that I liked, the first two, it would be almost instantaneous, right? It would grab your face and done. You didn't really see how it worked. So the fact that we could actually see, because now with practical effects and technology, they could develop and create an animatronic that could do these things. But also the fact that when we were in Aliens 1, when they first go into the derelict ship, there's this little blue mist, and it's the haze. And they bring that back for this too, which I loved.
yes.
But when you hit that haze, it's almost like a spider web. That's the way I always interpreted it. It was always like a spider web where it would, the eggs start to open. But it was always only like one egg, maybe two. But it seemed to match whoever was in that scene. That's how many eggs opened. Whereas here, they're everywhere. They are swarming. And it gave a new dimension of fear beyond the fact that this is something that implants an egg into your lung tissue. Now you have something where they can hunt you down. They look for sound and heat signatures. Stuff like that is ingenious.
Yeah, and that is new in this film because I don't remember them talking about that in the first two films.
Not at all.
So the fact that, okay, now being a human, everything about you, they just are hyper-focused on you and they can find you. It's like, oh my God, no.
Yeah, no. And continuing with them, and I remember the reading about Alien when the alien in the first movie bursts out of his chest. Everybody didn't know that was happening. So it surprised them and the shock on their faces was authentic. But it always looked, and again, this is the technology of the time, It's practical, so it always weirdly, to me, like there was a Vegemite layer or like some weird filmy layer on them when they burst through. Still terrifying, don't get me wrong. It scarred me as a child. I'm still terrified of those little things. But when you see it now, like you saw ribs breaking, penetrating up. You saw like pink tissue. Because it looked more authentic, it added a level of fear to it because it wasn't that, oh, look, it's filmy and it's kind of fake, even though it's terrifying. This is, oh, damn.
Right. Which is why I was like, when Navarro had that x-ray thing and she was like, what is that? And you see it moving around in her.
And it's punching forward.
Oh, I'm like, oh my God. To your point, it just makes it more real.
And then when it gets away, obviously Navarro is deceased. We've always questioned how the xenomorphs grow so quickly. It's something that hasn't really been discussed in the first two or any of the films that I remember. And in the first one, I remember they were going for the little guy and they're like, it's such a little thing. How could you not find it? And then they come back with the skin and okay, so it's shedding its skin, but why? Why is it growing so fast? It's not, is it eating? Is it, how does it evolve? This time it shows that it built the cocoon and it was trying to evolve in the wall. And that's also like leads back to, okay, so maybe that's why they have those big walls as well. Not just to have the humans stuck there that are incubating, but also where they are parts of the wall and they evolve. So I felt like, okay, there's a little more development there, but I'm also going to have to, because there's something I bring up later that is confusing because they showed all of this.
Okay. So the director actually mentioned that he was trying to incorporate a lot of different prior aspects of the alien lore, right? Whether it's from movies or from the video game. Did you notice anything that was specifically about the video game that was incorporated into this film?
I played the video game Alien Isolation, which is the best one, in my opinion.
Okay.
The feeling of the video game with a headset on, where you have that creepy sound effect and you don't know where anything is. And I felt that setting from the game in darkness, because I would always play at night when you would go to sleep, and I would only have my headset on. So I'd be in the dark with a headset. It was like when I played Dead Space, I did the same thing.
You're a glutton for punishment.
Oh, I'm so silly when it comes to this. But that is how I would play it. And so in that regard, yes.
So the one thing that I had actually learned from an interview that Alvarez, the director, was giving was that whenever you see a telephone in a panel by the door, it actually is a save point, apparently, in the game. And so he tried to do that for the film, that wherever there was a phone, that was like a safe thing. After I heard that, it made sense to me that every time that they were at a door, it was like, okay, what nefarious thing is on the other side of this door that could kill us?
That is true. Because in Isolation, every time I opened a door, I'd be like, oh, or every time I walked through the vent system, it was always, oh God, oh God, oh God. Yeah. But again, that's the feeling of a good Aliens movie, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the things I do remember was when Andy saves Rain because they're in an elevator shaft and the elevator's stuck, but it's coming down. I don't remember exactly, but he grabs the gun, jumps on the alien that is just about to reach Rain, and basically fires the weapon and says, "Get away from her, you." And I mean, I know it's pure fan service, but it was a lot of fun nonetheless.
Yeah, that was actually one of the iconic lines that I do remember from Aliens. I have to bring a point about that in the bad later. So hopefully I'll remember it. But
well, if you don't, we have the record scratch and it will go nowhere.
Well, hopefully not. So
hopefully not. Shall we jump right into the themes then?
I was going to say, yeah, let's go ahead.
All right. Well, it's obvious this is a lot of corporate greed. Forgive me for 1 second, but it's between the two. So the company has the goal in this movie, in Romulus, of using the DNA of the xenomorph to ensure human beings can handle the rigors of space, that they live longer and can increase the population of low-level workers in the company. It's technically not to benefit humanity, it's to benefit the bottom line, because we do see that Rain actually has completed the hours and the woman just changes it and increases them and then says, well, because people are dying, you have to work longer. In Alien and Aliens, it's more about corporate greed for weapons. I'm going to bring that up, but the underlying theme of all of Aliens, in my opinion, has been and continues to be corporate greed.
Yeah, because it's about getting either more power or more money. And so it all comes to the same place.
Yeah.
Right? No matter which direction you come into.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on then to a different theme. The theme of siblings is prominent throughout the whole film, right? Especially the one of Romulus and Remus, the two halves of the space station. It's basically the Roman mythology of how Rome was founded. Romulus and Remus are twin brothers, as the mythology goes. Romulus actually kills Remus, and Romulus is the founder of Rome. And in the way that it manifested itself in this story with the space station, it seemed like the alien was pulled into the Romulus side of the station, and then it spread over to the Remus side. But I could be wrong about that.
I thought the Romulus side were where all the facehuggers were frozen.
Yes, they were frozen, and so they then killed everybody else who was on the other side of the space station.
And then I wondered, did they have to go through Remus to get out?
That's how I remember it, but
and then
so
then they were coming from Romulus, so Romulus kills Remus.
That's what I think. I have to watch it again.
It's interesting. I don't remember.
Yeah,
because we see it in the theaters. It's harder to just see it again to go back.
Regardless, the dichotomy of that of one side basically killing the other side, and then they founded their new nest.
Yes, I mean you do have the siblings. Like you have Rain and Andy, even though Andy is in fact an android that was programmed by her father. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, as a side note, I do think aspects of their film sibling connection is earned, very earned because of that development of the relationship.
Yeah.
It's strong enough so that when she stays behind to save him, you believe it.
Yeah.
And then when he turns around to save her, it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm just doing it for you because you saved me. It feels like he actually has a connection emotionally, which theoretically you're not supposed to.
Right. And, for the two of them, they're basically orphaned, right? Because the parents are dead. The disease caught up to them. They basically are each other's family. So the other grouping of siblings here is Tyler and Kay. And they seem to be also orphaned. And so they, with Rain, are very close. There seems to be like some history there between Tyler and Rain. Like maybe they were together at one point.
Oh yeah, there's some tension there.
Yeah. And then we also find out that Kay, Tyler's sister, is pregnant. Tyler does not know this. And so again, here's a slightly different theme of the family doesn't have to be blood. So this is, again, found family.
Yeah.
Now, Andy seems to be the odd man out because the rest of the crew don't necessarily accept Andy.
Well, no, the one character, and I don't remember his name, but he doesn't accept it because a synthetic had to make a decision. Kind of reminded me of, the decision best for saving as many people as you can, and you unfortunately had to sacrifice some others, and that happened to be that individual's, I think it was mother.
Yep.
So that character, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but whatever it is, that's why they couldn't stand synthetics. But I also think it's because Andy does have breakdowns. He is a broken android that her father fixed. So he does have these debilitating system errors where he needs to be rebooted.
Yep.
And so she has a little key that reboots him. So, I can understand because if something happens, he's a liability to them.
Yes. But they still need him to access the space station.
But they're also not telling him that they have to leave him behind either.
I know. How heartbreaking is that?
She doesn't tell him that either, which is why in the end, kind of it felt deserved when she's taken him regardless.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But in the end, the other thing I appreciated was that Rain gives Andy a different directive. Because the directive is what he was programmed with by her father was to do what was best for Rain. And at the end, she said, do what is best for us. The growth of Andy as a character, where he did show that he is capable of emotional connection and everything else, allowing him to think for himself was a good progressional thing forward in the found family theory of things.
Right.
So, do you have anything else you want to add to any of that?
I don't think so. I think that's enough.
So we're going to jump right into the bad?
Oh my goodness. This is all you, I think.
It's all... That's all me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I have one, but yeah.
Do you remember what it is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I hope I remember what all mine were. So going back to the point of corporate greed and whatnot, I'm still kind of confused because if Alien and Aliens were all about weapons and making weapons and having massive weapons, notice the word weapons, why is this one all about genetically modifying humanity to survive longer periods? It just, if it's in between the two, the story for me was kind of an eyebrow raiser, especially because in 2, they're on the planet surviving very well. The colony was there for years before they found Ripley. Granted, now they were all deceased and basically birthed aliens and xenomorphs, but the idea is they had been there, so they didn't need to change the DNA. They didn't need to do anything. But yet in this film, they have the DNA in a container with them, and they're heading to another planet. So now you have this thread that kind of splinters off, which is odd to me.
I mean, it could be very well that they think of the humans as their own weapons, that they want to use them to harvest whatever energy or whatever to send to the other planets.
Did you get that vibe, though?
The vibe that I got was that they were there to service the corporation at whatever cost.
I felt like this was a one-track story where it was, we're getting the DNA to make perfect humans that can survive in subpar conditions so we can use them forever and they never leave and we own them. That's what I got out of it. Beyond the references and whatnot, I didn't get any connection to weaponry or utilizing it for other things outside of this. Again, it felt like this weird threaded departure, especially since they took the alien from the Nostromo. So it was odd. And my next point, going back to one of my record scratches, is the ending. While to attempt the connecting humanity to xenomorphs makes logical sense, the ending felt more like Alien Resurrection for me, which, in again, my opinion, is not as bad as Prometheus and Covenant. Yeah, I'm just going to say it bluntly. In my opinion, it would have been better to have the facehuggers sneak aboard as they were everywhere on the space station, have them feel like they're safe and they're in the cryotube things and they're sleeping. And then all of a sudden, one of them breaks into the cryotube, like an after credit scene, and they show the thing like going over K, because then is it the baby or is it her? You know, like stuff like that, because all of that could be changed. And then have autopilot click back in and sent them to the mining colony as she's being impregnated with a xenomorph. I think that would have been cool. That human xenomorphy thingamajiggy at the end that's birthed by Kay. So basically she injects herself with the DNA to survive while Rain and Andy are struggling to get back to the ship, right?
The Prometheus strain.
Yeah, that thing. She gives birth to an egg. The egg opens up and it's a human face like a newborn baby. I kind of wanted to laugh. The damn thing grows in seconds without a cocoon, which brings another record scratch back, because there's no consistency with how these things grow. Even though they've shown us how, to an extent, they then kind of ignore it at the end. And it's not scary. It's complete CGI looking at me. They've lost me. And I'm turning around going, no, there's nothing terrifying about it. Absolutely nothing. It looks like a really tall white dude with bad posture. It's not scary. You went from these creepy crawly things that hide in the shadows that have terrifying sound to that.
And see, for me, it was scary because the fact that Kay injected herself with the Prometheus strain basically showed you how the synthesized DNA of the alien is even more...
But is it? Is it shown? Is it dictated? Is it told?
To me, it is, because it's in her body. Now it's part of her. She was pregnant.
I don't agree.
You don't know how things happen there.
I have to wholeheartedly stop there because I cannot agree. I feel like you're filling it in to make it work. This feels like a moment they're hoping we gloss over and don't think about, and that final act falls off the rails, in my opinion. And this is a huge problem because you cannot, even if you synthesize, it takes 9 months for a baby to be born. She's barely showing, and all of a sudden, the alien is there. It's a baby, and then it's boom. It's this massive thing. There's no cocoon. There's no evolution. There's no nothing. It doesn't eat anything. It's within seconds. It's massive.
It does eat something because it kills Kay
But it's already a massive thing at that point.
Okay, for me, the alien does grow really, really rapidly. And so doing this, it turbocharges it.
We're just going to have to agree to disagree because this literally felt like we need it to happen in the script to bring it to a good conclusion, so we're just going to do it.
Okay.
Instead of leaving it with her injected and maybe showing that she's growing, the pregnancy is advancing faster while she's under and they're headed to the new planet. There was no reason to show me this thing. None.
Well, it was scary to me.
No, we're going to have to agree to disagree on that one. And speaking of this whole ending, that breastfeeding scene, why? That was absolutely jumped the shark, grotesque for grotesque's sake, and unnecessary. Completely unnecessary.
Well, I don't know if it's showing how the young actually does connect with its mother.
Oh, please.
Or it could harken back to the mythology of Romulus and Remus, where they're suckling at from a wolf.
It was literally just gross, in my opinion, for gross sake. And as someone who loves this type of stuff, it just it angered me because you have such an amazing, emotive movie, and then you end like that.
Well, I guess Kay's character had to die somehow, and that's how it was. But
if they wanted to leave it hanging, they could have ended the credits and had her scream in the credits. They could have done anything, but you had to show me this thing. It's not scary.
Well, to me, it was scary because of the thought of how.
And even the thought of how doesn't scare me. There's so many different things. It was just too fast. We're going to have to seriously. I am so passionate about how much I dislike the
I
ending.
understand. I see that. All right. I'm going to then say my bad here.
Okay.
In the scene where Rain is in the elevator shaft, there was no gravity. So she and Andy were both floating. And then all of a sudden the gravity turns on. And so she didn't quite grab onto one of the rungs of the ladder, so she was free falling down the shaft. She is saved then by the xenomorph. And I don't know why that was.
Because the script needed her to live.
I understand that. That to me didn't make sense.
Yeah. But it's the third act of the film.
Yeah. Well, everything else makes sense to me. That does not. The xenomorph has been chasing them to try to nourish it so that it can grow. And then it saves her and then toys with her.
Because the script needed it to.
Okay.
We so disagree on a lot with this film.
But we agree on that point, though, that why did the xenomorph save her?
Well, you had another point about the ending where they're outside the airlock and the aliens attacking her.
Yeah, that was always my pet peeve because when the alien attacks and it cracks the
with its
helmet,
weird toothed tongue,
the astronaut helmet thingy looking thing, it hits it twice. And when the glass cracks, and I know this is probably just for the
movie tension,
suspension of it, but in reality, if there's a crack and you're in space, it's going to implode really quickly once the integrity of that suit is compromised. So the fact that it cracks and it holds there for a long time is a little bit a bridge too far for me. And I know that they did that in another film. I don't know if it's Alien or
films.
Aliens, specifically Aliens, the Alien franchise. And it always bothered me because we're scuba divers, and if something like that happens to us,
you immediately have to start going to the surface to release to lower the pressure on the glass. Yeah.
So, because the pressure needs to equalize. So that was another thing, I guess, that bothered me and that I just couldn't quite get over.
Sigourney Weaver's not in it. That's a problem for me.
Really?
I'd have to throw that in.
Really?
We can agree on that.
The PA system in the space station sounded like Ripley.
Oh, maybe we should look that up.
I don't
know.
To me, it sounded like Ripley. So
I'm going to end on a good note, on a positive note, okay?
You are? Oh
I
my
am,
God.
even though there's been like a lot of bad, and I've been very passionate about it. I do want to say that whoever handled the sound when things were crushing in space, when you were inside the tunnels, in the space station, in the ship, the eeriness, and the fact that in space no one can hear you scream.
And then it would just cut out?
It would just cut out completely. And that raised the level, which is maybe why I'm so angry at the ending, because it raised the bar so high and then dropped me on my face. The gravity cycled and kicked in and I fell without an alien to save me. But switching gears into the cute, you were giggling at Andy's dad jokes.
And I couldn't remember some of them, but they were so hilarious at the time. I was cracking up. You were hitting me.
Yeah, because you were laughing hysterically in the middle of a theater. For me, it was cute hearing you laugh, to be honest. The dad jokes, I didn't
You were
care
groaning,
about.
I know.
But you were giggling and laughing, and that, it's just nice.
Yes. Okay. So I guess that is it for our discussion of Alien.
Are you sure?
I don't know. We were fighting. I don't know.
We weren't fighting. We were having a very excited conversation.
A very lively discussion.
There you go. Lively.
Uh-huh. Okay, so now it is time then for our Forever Fangirls rating. A drum roll, please. We rate Alien Romulus 3 stars.
Yay! Oh, we did it on time this time.
Yeah, because you were paying attention.
Oh, really? So, flop or not, can it develop legs to success? Based on the response of social media and Rotten Tomatoes reviews, I really do think this film's going to make its budget back. If things continue on this trend on the way up, I can see another film in the series being greenlit. But, please, if they're going to do this, I hope they focus. And now I'm speaking slowly, just to you, our listening audience. I really hope they focus on the xenomorph and less about this hybrid human version. Because what terrifies me about these aliens is their size. The fact that they crawl along the walls and hang from ceilings, and you don't see them until their tail has impaled you and lifted you up to their face that's dripping with saliva-filled acid. And then they open their mouths and that second little mouth comes out and just like impales your brain. That's scary. This human mutated hybrid thing, it feels less frightening. I don't think it's going to lift me up and carry me around the ceiling and make me scream in fear. Instead, it makes me feel like I'm playing an unfinished horror game. Does that make sense?
Well, maybe they want you to think about the engineer when you look at the human hybrid.
Listen, y'all.
Do you not remember what I said about Prometheus? Don't go there. Don't do it.
I'm just saying, I think it's funny because it's, same really, really, really pale skin.
Did you even like Prometheus and Covenant? I dragged you to both of them.
Yes, and I still torture you about the fact that you dragged me to see Prometheus.
And you're saying that this should be compared to them?
No, I'm saying that the hybrid child.
And that's not a good thing. Not a good thing.
Anyway, I kind of agree with your sentiment that this is probably going to make its budget back because, like we were saying earlier, it's almost there, and this is its second weekend. It doesn't seem that there's much competition, so that's good, and probably there will be a sequel to it. And I would be curious to see what they do with the sequel, because now I am invested in the story of Rain. Will she be able to fix her brother Andy? Will they be accepted at the new Ivaga planet? There's a lot more story that can happen there. So I'm looking forward to a sequel.
And I agree with you. The development of the first 90% of the movie is such that I am very invested on where it goes next. Mm-hmm. Especially with the vials being in the ship. When they get there, what's going to happen to them? Does she get rid of them? If she does get rid of them, does it infect, the area? But then because they did this weird human thing, are the face huggers even the same? Nothing is the same if they follow that ending. So I'm hoping they kind of kill it and just say the DNA doesn't work, or they steal the DNA and they synthesize an alien as it's meant to, as we know it as a xenomorph. But besides all of that, I really do want to make it clear. I love the Alien series. I own the video games and have died profusely in Alien Isolation. No matter how many times I hid, there was always something around the corner that just got me.
Oh boy.
So you want to watch me play it?
No, not at all.
Anyway, the film starts off well and leads us through an edge-of-your-seat horror film where every shadow makes you jump. But all of this comes to a screeching halt in the final act, which seems to switch terror for just plain grotesque. And while I'm a fan of slasher films, the Alien series was never just about the body count. It was always about going from the hunter to the hunted. The mind games the creature plays on you because they're in the position of power. The spine-tingling fear that grips you when the sound kicks up and you turn the corner and you're expecting it to be there and it's not. And then you turn around and it's right in front of you and attacks. All of that is terror-inducing. And instead, they leave me with this weird hybrid that is more circus show than xenomorph. And while I was irritated at the lackluster ending, if you couldn't tell, it was worth watching from the entire beginning to middle. And again, ending aside, it felt like a step in the right direction. And I hope this is just the beginning.
And for me, I actually enjoyed all aspects of the film. Scare jumps aside, I still do not like scare jumps.
I was there to hug you.
I understand that, but I still do not like them. Anyway, I found myself saying, no, don't do it, as I was invested in the characters and rooting for them to leave the mining planet in search of a new one for a better life. The ending to me made sense, and the hybrid xenomorph was actually very scary to me because it showed how the alien parasite is quick to evolve and is a natural progression of what happens when humans play God, and it backfires. It's truly awe-inspiring in the most horrific way possible.
Yeah. I don't know what to say to that. It's just, yeah. I'm just going to agree.
Okay.
To disagree sometimes with my wife. But anyway, that is going to be our show for today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning into our review of Alien Romulus. If you'd like to reach out to us here at Forever Fangirls Podcast, we have several ways you can do that. You can go to our website, foreverfangirls.com, and find links to our Discord, social media, a contact form, and easy access to subscriptions wherever you listen to podcasts.
And until next time, stay safe, be kind, and remember, we learned this in the original Alien and now in Alien Romulus. If someone has a face hugger on them for an extended period, do not, and I repeat, do not let them back on your ship. Just don't.